when comedy goes well, it is the greatest feeling in the world.
Yeah.
When it goes bad, though, it is the worst feeling in the world because it is all on you. Again, practicing Stoicism, has helped me deal, and also I'm a lot better at performing now, so I bomb a lot less.
Yeah.
Still happens, like you say, sometimes, you get out on stage and just things are not right and you're going to die. But, I'm a lot more experienced now, and when things are going bad now, I can sort of have more perspective on it, take a higher view of the situation, or I can go, look, it's not my fault or whatever, just change my perspective. Sometimes you can even find the funny in it. You can go, oh man, this is going bad. And then you can go, oh, could it get even worse? How is this happening? Yeah. At first, when I started comedy, because when you start out, you're still very unsure. You're like, am I funny? Can I make people laugh? Will this work? And when you die, it can be soul destroying. And I remember sometimes I did a few gigs and they just didn't like my stuff, and I'd go out in the car and have a bit of a cry and be shaking my head like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? But as you go along, you do more and more, tougher and tougher gigs, and they build that, resilience. Seneca talks about, sleeping on the floor, and a couple of days a week, dress, in your worst clothes and eat, really rough food. Comedians sort of have a similar thing. We're all like, when you're starting out, go out and do the rough gigs, do the worst room, and just to build that hide, right? Yeah. So then, after a while, you're just like, When I started those gigs, I think about the gigs that made me cry in the first year I was doing it, and they were bad gigs. They were just like, uninterested, audience members who just couldn't care less about what I was talking about. After, a couple of years later, I'd be doing gigs where, like, I don't know. I remember emceeing a Battle of the Bands competition, and every band was like a heavy metal, thrash metal outfit, and their audience just hated my jokes about puppies and visiting my... And they started throwing bottles at me. And that one, because, I'd been, at that point I was like 4 or 5 years into doing stand-up, water off the duck's back then. Yeah. It was fine. Because you're like, I've experienced worse. This is not the worst thing in the world. You don't like me, but that's, not going to kill me. People cannot like me. It's going to be fine.
Well, you could make an argument that you haven't truly lived until you've had bottles thrown at you by thrash metal fans because you've done a puppy joke, right? Like, of course, that's life. At the time, it's brutal, but after a while, it's sort of funny, and it's fascinating stories. Comedians have this. One thing that comedians are great at is going, oh, this will be material. Like whenever something terrible is happening in their life, their car explodes, their plane's delayed by 16 hours, and something goes wrong. They're like, this will be material. This will be in next year's show. We're always sort of going, we can just observe things, use this. Don't get too up. Look for the funny in this tragedy, because in like a couple of days, couple of weeks, whatever, in the future, this is going to be comedy gold.